So let's welcome David.
All right, so is my mic on?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me. So, good morning, everyone. And I'm going to take a poll the room kind of thing. Binary outcome. Raise your hand if yes only. Do you believe your current competitive intelligence has you covered? Whatever that means, whatever methodologies, whatever services, vendors you have. And this only applies to those in pharma, not to those on the vendor side. So, show of hands if you believe you're covered. I see a resounding 0 hands. And based on my count, we have 230 attendees here, right? As per the app. And approximately 40% of those attendees are from pharma companies. So that's more than one person, many more than one person, and yet I see no hands. So today we're going to discuss the delusion, as I call it, of intelligence as we have it in pharma. And this is delusional on both the part of the vendor and the client. Let's see if this works. Green. All right. So our assertion is we're covered. But in this case, we have no one covered 100%. But let's just go back to hypothetical that we're covered. The market's going to move. We're super competitive. As our prior speaker Sarah said, there are all these changes in the macro policy environment that are compressing competition, right? 188 assumed drugs that are going to be no longer brought forward in ClinDev, no longer potential to have a PTRS to go into the market. That means that every asset you have becomes increasingly more competitive. Now, we know there are many different methodologies of doing CI. There are internal teams, there are external vendors, there's hybrid models, there's offshore models, etc. What I really think is important to discuss today is when you're in your shoes, whether you're the vendor doing the work, presenting the work, or the client receiving it, are you on track? Are you getting it correctly? Or are you missing something? So what's the failure point? Coverage, in my opinion, is the anathema or the enemy of consequence. What on earth does that mean? Okay? What it means is that breadth of having myriad resilient strains of different types of coverage, secondary CI, primary CI, artificial intelligence, etc. Workshops, strategy sessions, everything internal, external. You have a mass corpus of data coming your way. You have way too many streams of intel coming in, and honestly, some of it is going to be aligned, and some of it's going to be misaligned. And how are you able to then distill out what reality is? So, we believe, and I'm going to take a very, very controversial and contrarian stance here, that AI, platformized AI, is one of the issues today. And why? AI is driven by pattern recognition in its current form as transformer-based models, large and small language models, mixture of experts, RGA, and agents and multi-agent models. It is generative or agentic as per its qualifications, but it's based on what's trained, based on past precedent, pattern recognition, assuming the future. Do you believe, and again, show of hands, everyone here this time, do you believe that there are dark swan events that have affected our industry in the past, well, 5 years? Yes or no? I'm seeing this 80% of the room. Now, dark swan event. Artificial intelligence, proactive monitoring and reporting. Is it going to capture that with foresight and the ability to come up with scenario analyses and probability weighted and such. No, there's no way. Because it is basing it based on past performance, statistical analyses, and figuring out what the right tokenized word is based on an algorithm. At this point, irrespective of the level of sophistication of any AI, I would be as bold as to say that they're wonderful as enhancement tools, expediters, and autonomous kind of digital clones of yourself, but it cannot get you 100% there. And also the net impact and implication of that is inherently non-human. So human element when we're doing stuff, irrespective of the type of intelligence that you're doing, whether you're doing government-grade intelligence, biopharmaceutical intelligence, intelligence on your social networks to find out what's going on, there is a human element where you need to understand what people are actually doing and put it into the context of real experience, lived experience. That candidly, no AI can do. And if somebody can tell me that the AI can do that, you're doing better than anyone. You're doing better than every single AI lab, every single collaboration, partnership, IQVIA and NVIDIA, etc. So just putting that out there. Now, in my opinion, we believe that velocity, or speed, has replaced in many regards credibility and longitudinal accuracy. Yes, we can reduce the time it takes to get the answers, meaning a secondary alert out there. That's all good and well. But at what expense? Yeah, sure, we're going to save a couple of bucks. We'll save 50, 80% on the actual cost of the service. But when you're talking about the brand maximization or platform maximization of your companies, we're not talking about millions of dollars, we're talking about tens, hundreds, millions, if not billions of dollars. Saving 80% on a $400,000 service looks really good to procurement. You might make some KPI for that. But what happens when you have a miss that otherwise could have been foresaw and told you in advance? Now, in terms of like a red team exercise, something that I don't think any AI can do today. Red teaming, for those of you who are not aware, is sort of like the legacy, and I'm going to use the gauche word, war game. Okay? What do I mean by that? You take different views, like a devil's advocate perspective or potential dark horse scenarios, and you work through things so you're not just presenting what the obvious is. If a dog has 4 legs, it has 4 legs. That's all good and well. But net, what are you going to learn from that? Yes, you hit the box check that you've got to alert out in a certain time frame, but is it actually adding value? And if so, wonderful. And again, credit to you, please, 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 take all my clients, okay? I encourage you to. But if not, and you have other scenarios where, weeks, months, even years down the road, there's a massive miss that can be tracked back to something. What does it matter that you saved 80% on your $400,000 project? So let's take an example of earnings calls, okay? So earnings call happens, and currently it's happening on a quarterly basis. Now, recent evolution from the White House suggests that we might go to semi-annual or every 6-month earning calls. As per Trump, he thinks that that's a better way to do things. Now, between T0, beginning of the quarter, and end of the quarter when you have that readout, yes, there are some public disclosures, yes, there are some data releases, yes, there are different things, but net, the amount of intelligence inbound for ingestion to your AI is quite limited, okay? The earnings call is a great environment in which you can do that. Now, let's say that we go from 4 to 2. that's reducing by 50% the volume of intelligence, raw corpus intelligence that you have that will ultimately be ingested, digested, and put out into some kind of a meaningful alert to you. Okay? So, in the absence of data inbound, how are you able to use AI? Other than to what I consider to be delude or hallucinate. Because, and we can see myriad published papers, both from academia, from MIT, from industry, from the NIH even, and the FDA, that strongly not only suggest, but actually credibly determine that the hallucination rate among all AIs today is so high that it cannot be relied upon credibly for important decision calculus. So, decision locus shifting, fancy terms about where does the power lie. And if you're going to work on intelligence, you need to be able to own your solutions, own your vendors, not literally, but be able to bring about appropriate nuance and relational changes. Strategy is no longer going to be decided in one room, one meeting. It's embedded before the meeting gets scheduled. So what you have to do is bring about intel that is meaningful, that is credible, that is prognosticating, and able to bring about real outcomes so you have a good conversation, not just debating over coffee or Diet Dr. Pepper. So, my question to you, to everyone here, CI as is, again, we're looking at this transformational arc from traditional secondary monitoring by humans, primary intelligence, conference coverage, etc., to an AI-centric model, which again, for all intents and purposes for primary intelligence and human intelligence, cannot be done. And the reason why is you'd be training it on proprietary information. You would be only getting it by using your AI or your agents of AI to actually go out and request or summon otherwise non-public information, which would be implicitly antitrust and problematic. So the question is, what requirements of the future are there as more competition comes up? And to me, to basically ground your delusion of intelligence, it really is a matter of all source intelligence using different methodologies, one of which is AI. I'm not countering AI altogether. AI is very important as a backbone for getting robust, quick turn insights, but from a long-term sustainability perspective, it's not the panacea or only answer. Final signals. My goal from today is that I am provocative and I am asking you questions that might, make some people smirk in the room, which I definitely see. And that's good, that's what it's about. The idea is not to be blending in and saying the same party line. Because in so doing, you're accepting a delusional intelligence that ultimately will make you less competitive net-net. And that is the most dangerous signal of them all. With that, I'll take any questions. Someone over there?
So you highlighted, hi, Sam. So you highlighted the fact that AI uses historical precedent to get trained. So do humans. Is there an alternative, basically, because there's no way of looking into the future as such? Is it just in other people's experiences? What is it what's
Sure.
the human
It's a great question. So from our perspective, you are correct. AI is trained on past corpuses of intelligence, what's out there, public, present, etc. That being said, we are talking about the intersection of both secondary domain and primary domain research, where you're having conversations with individuals on a non-transactional, peer-to-peer basis to understand qualitatively what will likely, incredibly happen in the future. You're not asking somebody for something confidential and proprietary by any means, but you're soliciting via conversational interviews different notions of what the future could look like. That's what I'm talking about. AI can never do that without doing something that would be technologically surreptitious and actually a part of breaching the Economic Espionage Act.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you all for your time and for listening. Hopefully this makes you think. That's the idea. It is not meant, again, to retrain you or to sell a product. It's just to challenge the norms. Thank you so much.